name's Tanya LaGhoul, and today I'm actually doing my first ever comment reply video. In this video, I'm obviously replying to a comment I got about public domain supervillains. Here's the comment right here if you want to read it, but anyway, villains in stories are as old as stories themselves. Stories have been told ever since the dawn of society, and within most stories, there was a villain. And the villain usually represents the evil, achiness, scariness of the world. Back during the times when survival was absolutely necessary, and we had to teach our children to be strong and brave to fight against the horrors of the world that were unknown to us yet. A lot of these ancient stories would bring us great and iconic villains such as Satan from the Christian Bible, as well as the other 6 of the 7 kings of the 7 deadly sins. We also have Poseidon from Greek mythology, and I guess now that I think of it, a lot of the male gods were pretty much villainous, so you could wrap them in there too. And you have Grýla from Norse mythology, as well as Surtur from Norse mythology. And although Surtur's not said to be entirely evil, he does destroy the world in the Ragnarok event, so... We also have Tezcatlipoca from Mexican mythology. We have Davy Jones from pirate mythology, and yes, Davy Jones is a actual character and not just made up for Pirates of the Caribbean. He was an actual folklore character, or rather a Grim Reaper of sorts. He's like the manifestation of death itself. And we even have the Morrigan from Irish mythology. As society advanced, and we got past our fears of the unknown as we discovered more and more, we would start to write fictional stories about villains as a way to keep the art alive in a way. And we would create such iconic villains like Grendel from the Beowulf poem, Mordred from Arthurian legend, Bram Stoker's Count Dracula, as well as the vampire that came before him, Carmilla, the Big Bad Wolf, who's the villain in a lot of stories, Three Little Pigs, Red Riding Hood, you get the gist. We'd get the Queen of Hearts, as well as other evil queens in Hans Christian Andersen stories, as well as Brother Grimm stories. We have the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid, H.G. Wells' Invisible Man, Cthulhu from The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft, as well as the Reanimator, Robert Pickman, and you could even have cryptids be villains in a way, since they instill fear and sometimes even harm onto passers-by. But you want to talk about actual supervillains though. So let me introduce to you the Claw from the Silver Streak comics. He's pretty much the face of public domain supervillains. Like, when you think of public domain supervillains, he's the first thing that comes to mind. He is absolutely evil, conniving, and very powerful too. He has ancient warlock-like abilities and can grow into size as well, the size of a kaiju. He is a force not to be messed with. Next we got the Torch from Blue Beetle comics, and this guy, he is an absolute pyromaniac, perfect for if you want to do a psychopathic pyromaniac character. Believe it or not, Mr. Mind, as well as the Monster Society from the Captain Marvel comics, is technically public domain, but only their first appearances, and only the one from Fawcett Comics. So, none of the newer looks, none of the more updated looks, just their first appearance. And please be very careful as well with their name too, since it's trademarked. Same thing goes for Fin Fang Foom from Marvel Comics. Only his first ever appearance is public domain. So do not use the green look that he has currently. Do not use any recent version. Only his first ever appearance. And don't even use any Marvel superheroes to fight against him unless if it's the Submariner. None other than that, and maybe Quicksilver. That's it. were the only ones that didn't get their copyrights renewed. So be careful with this one. But luckily, here's something you don't need to be careful with when it comes to copyright. The Death Battalion. They could be a pretty good stand-in for the Legion of Doom or the Sinister Six. And each individual villain has a pretty unique kind of gimmick to them, you know? And if you want to update them for whatever you're trying to tell, whatever story you're trying to tell, then you can totally do that. Next, we got the Revenge Syndicate, which is a much smaller villain team, but hey, you know, it still works. There's still some pretty cool ideas that you could do with this one, and, you know, they each have their own gimmicks still, so, you know, I thought that was pretty cool at least. Next, we have the Mad Scientist from the Fleischer Superman cartoons, which actually predates Lex Luthor by a few years. So, if you want your own Lex Luthor type villain, there you go. But not only is the Mad Scientist public domain, but all the Fleischer Superman cartoon villains are public domain and readily available to your disposal. Then we also got the Iron Mask, who's like this big badass space villain that you could use for if you have a space theme hero. We got the Riverman from the Plastic Man comics that you could use as like a stand-in for Killer Croc or King Shark. We also have the Deathless Brain, which although has a very controversial background, but I feel like if you rework it enough to make it more tasteful for modern audiences, I feel like you could have a pretty interesting villain. Next, we got the Red Knight from the Blue Beetle comics, which, yeah, he's also kind of controversial, but again, he could also be reworked. So then we also got the Mirror Man, which is a supervillain that can travel through mirrors and create illusions through mirrors that can drag people into them, which I think is pretty cool, you know. And then we got the Great Question, who could be like a Riddler stand-in, you know, in case you need a Riddler-type villain. We also have Dr. Macabre from Catman Comics, who's basically like a spooky villain that you can use if you need a spooky villain. Then we got Yulda, as well as the rest of her alien race, who could be used as like the alien threat in case you need like a, you know, cool, badass alien threat invading Earth, you know, like a classic sci-fi movie. Then we got Harpy, in case you need a kind of supernatural type villain, in case you have a supernatural kind of story you want to tell. We got Punch and Julie, who are like a clown-themed duo, and they can be like a Joker and Harley Quinn kind of stand-in, but like reverse the power dynamic to where it's the woman in charge and the man's the henchman. And then next we have the Seaweed Queen, who can be used as a kind of poison ivy type villain where she takes over plant life and she controls them and such. But with this one, it has to be mainly seaweed and sea plants, so. And also we have Tiger Woman, who can be like a Catwoman type villain, except a little bit more antagonistic and more cat-like, you know. Then we got Mr. Neely, who's one of my personal favorites, who's a really like badass kind of carnival-themed villain, like a demon carnival-themed villain who can like do trapeze acts and such. You know, he's pretty cool. I like him. Next, we have most of Plastic Man's villain catalog from when he was under Police Comics, before he was owned by DC. And these range from Elektra to Gargantua right here, to Grasshopper, and then to the Granite Lady right here, as well as the rest of his villains catalog that can be found on the public domain Superheroes Wiki. Next off, we have the Challenger, who is a giant alien villain that you can use in case you want a giant alien invader. And then we got Brett Hannigan, the werewolf, who you could use for like a kind of uncontrollable monster type villain. And then we got Iron Jaw, who could be this big bad mafia boss type villain if you wanted to. He's also got like a bear trap for a mouth too, which I think is pretty cool character design. And finally, we got a villain that speaks absolute aura here, the Iron Emperor. And although he's a giant robot type villain, I think you could do a lot with him and even give him like an Ultron kind of backstory, you know? And there we have it, my picks for some public domain supervillains that I found interesting. What are ones that you found interesting? Are there any public domain supervillains you would like to share with me? Please leave them down in the comments below, and I'll make sure to read them when I can. Thank you, like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.
Now I'm able to pay my cable.